Welcome to the 2014 North American Challenger Series, brought to you thanks in part by our friends at Coca-Cola. I am David Freak Turley here with Joshua Jat Leisman. We are here. We can clap. We can put our hands together. What else can you do, Jat?
It's been a while since we've done here. I can talk. I can rub my hands together a bit more and do a double spider on both fingers.
Oh, my gosh.
I can't do the Spider-Man thing, though, because my pinky gets all messed up.
I feel like it's, okay, yeah. I guess I got you beat there.
I can't do everything, Freak.
No, you can't.
No.
It's okay. You can't do play-by-play commentary. It's going to be my job. You do the color commentary.
Nope. If I start talking during fights, you'd be like, Jat, you shouldn't be doing
Unless
that.
it's a replay of a fight.
In which case,
that is your job.
That is my job.
Yes, it is. Guys, going to kick off North America's second Spring Challenger Series semifinal with LMQ versus VVV.
Yeah, both teams have only lost one game, and they're looking to keep it that way. Tonight, they face off in a best-of-3 matchup that leads straight to that final game. Even with their Game 1 stumble in the quarterfinals, though, LMQ is still the team to beat in this series. Their adaptability allowed them to come back and put up an impressive win against an impressive Team 8, who is now out of it.
Yeah, Team 8 did play pretty well there, and even though LMQ did win, VVV can look forward to the fact that, look, these guys did drop a game. LMQ, they went undefeated during the first spring series, but they can lose, they can die.
Yeah, they are somewhat vulnerable. But, you know, whoever comes out on top will play the winner of tomorrow's semifinal match between Curse Academy and Cloud9 Tempest.
So we're down to the wire here. A first-round bye is on the line in these Challenger semifinals. Now, reigning Chinese powerhouse LMQ will keep the #1 spot no matter what, but the three other teams here in the standings that are still in the semis are battling for the second place bye in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Freak. LMQ has a tight grip on first place, a minimum of 16 points. Nobody else can touch them. 10 points guarantees second place, and as you can see in the point standings, Cloud9 Tempest, VVV, and Curse Academy can all get there with a win.
Okay, so of course you can always check out the latest on the Challenger Series simply by going to LOLesports.com.
Yeah, there you'll find stats, scores, schedules, and more under the Leagues and Tournaments tab near the top of the page.
So let's get now to today's matchup. In the last appearance on Summoner's Rift, LMQ went a surprising 3 games with Team 8, but they did still lock in their semifinal spot.
Yeah, LMQ lost a surprising Game 1 to Team 8. It really seemed like they were vulnerable. Team 8 actually had twice as many kills and half as many deaths as LMQ in that game, but they came back a little bit stronger. They dominated the following 2 matches. Xiao actually was the only player on their team to die in Game 2, and the 1-2 punch of Ackerman and No Name really had a combined mark of 10-0-9, which was an improvement over their 5-10 and 20 and 12 in the first game. So Game 3, of course, Xiao, he was pretty good on LeBlanc, I'd say, against Gragas. He was able to outshove him, which is pretty impressive. 9-0-6 was his score at the end of that one. So Xiao moving a bit away from his only farm strategy that had given him a few accolades, but wasn't necessarily transitioning them into wins in at least the NACL, the other Challenger league that is going on. But this is one where they really come to play.
Yeah, and they're doing a pretty good job. Now, on the other side of the rift, though, we're going to have VVV Gaming. Now, they also lost 1 game in their quarterfinal, but they did go on to defeat LOL Pro in 3 games, and now they're here in the semis as well.
Yeah, look for Get Snuggled to pick aggressive junglers as well, like Elise, Lee Sin, and Vi to help secure that early lead. Peckinwolf as well is excellent synergy with Get Snuggled. That duo, when VVV is at their best, really enables them to get a lot of map pressure from the mid lane and jungle presence. However, that isn't actually what their late game success is about. That's why it's going to be an interesting game here, because their AD carry, Tails, is really good. He's never died more than twice in a game this series. In the quarterfinal match against LOL Pro as well, he went and combined 22, 5, and 19 over the 3 games, all on Lucian.
Yeah, it's going to bring us to our match here, and our featured matchup, actually, the AD carries LMQ's Vasily versus VVV's Tails.
Yeah, and Vasily, he plays Caitlyn. He's played more Caitlyn than anybody else in the Challenger Series. It basically gives him the potential to play safely, but really it's just for him to dominate the lane and then also be a late-game threat because of Caitlyn's immense range. And Tails, he is more the guy who's like, I'm just going to win the lane. Lucian, Ezreal are the champs he plays. I mean, he's done great, too. He has dominated a lot of these games. 11.2 KDA across 5 games. I mean, if this game gets kind of to late game, those guys are really going to be key because they generally just build straight damage, and they always have good farm.
Yeah, it was good farm. I actually found a stat the other day. So Tails has a 11.2 KDA so far in the Challenger Series. The rest of his team has a 3.9 combined. So he's about 3 times as effective as his team.
Well, that's because they're setting him up, man.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay, sure, he's an AD carry, doesn't die very much, but, like, we saw him just completely dominate the games. He actually carried their Game 3 win against LoL Pro. Like, it was only Tails was the reason they won that game.
Yeah, and that actually is an impressive stat, though, because, like, KDA is a really hard thing to kind of wrap your head around. Like, what is a good KDA necessarily. And it was interesting. This is going to be a bit of a tangent. But I was looking over all of our stats from the 2013 season with Winner Stats Guy. And we just averaged the KDAs of every single role to find out, like, what is the average KDA in League of Legends professional play.
Sure.
The average was around, like, 3.7 as far as a KDA. AD carries did have higher KDAs than other roles. Top lane, I believe, was the lowest. But it wasn't too disparaging. Like, AD carry average KDA was, like, 4.27, and the top lane was something like 3.
Yeah.
So the 11 is still impressive considering his team is right on average. Like, his team is right on average in KDAs, just he's above it.
Yeah, so some great play by these guys. We're going to see Riven and LeBlanc banned away. Pekinwolf's main champion that he's known for is Nidalee, and that's not going to get banned away by LMQ, but of course, Xiao, also known as a big proponent of that champion. Renekton banned away from Ackerman, Riven banned away from Chris. We'll see. Everyone kind of took one ban.
Chris taking his chance against Ackerman as well. He's been a very well-traveled top laner.
Yeah.
I'd have to say. He's been on a lot of different teams.
He's had reasonably good success, though. I think he's been actually getting better over time. I wasn't... It might be the competition, but I wasn't super impressed by him in the LCS. But then more and more recently, he's been beating up all the challenger top laners. So, liking him a bunch there. The Caitlyn's going to come through for Tails. The Kha'Zix as well. And I want to see where that one actually goes. This is the first time VVV is going to be playing a 4.3 in the
Challenger Series.
Challenger Series here. Yeah.
Kha'Zix is very strong, I'd have to say.
Yeah.
The stealth changes on his ultimate. People have probably heard that before. I do like the fact he's tanky. One thing that gets on my nerves about stealth Kha'Zix is people are saying, like, because of his damage reduction, extra health and shields make him twice as tanky. And I'm like, that is true.
Yes.
But it's a misconception about damage reduction. Everything is 50%. Like, it doesn't matter if it's armor, magic resist, shields, or health. It's all good.
They're all good.
You shouldn't just stack shields and health because you have DR. You should build the optimal tanky stats as you normally would, and then you still take half as much damage. It's half as much as anything.
That's how it works.
That's it.
I think there's one exception, I would say, which is that...
There's probably like half the people are like, what the heck is he talking about? There was a Reddit thread.
You got a health stack. I think there's one thing you can pick. You can actually pull with there is that because shields are also limited duration, you can magnify a shield.
Yeah,
usage.
you can keep the shield usage within the stealth. But I still,
generally speaking, if you're going to use it all anyway, you're going to use it all anyway. Shyvana for the top lane, jungle, Elise support, Thresh coming through, and now I want to see what else comes through here. Now that they know the Shyvana top lane matchup there, are they going to pick a carry top lane like Jax here?
It could work.
Like, hovering.
Jax is something that can work against Shyvana. Shyvana has no real way of slowing down his attack speed or stopping him from jumping around. It's not like an oppressive top laner.
Okay.
But instead he just goes Jace, which is even cooler.
Jace is even cooler. Actually, Chris has been spamming it in solo queue in recent history.
Yeah, and Cruiser in the LCS has been drawing Jace bans as well.
Yes.
So it's actually a very good top laner for the people who remember to play it. I wonder if this is going to catch LMQ off guard at all, since they are the team that just picks conventional stuff more than anyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're kind of the in-meta team. I mean, Thresh, Elise, Shyvana, you can't
No one's surprised
much
by
about
those at all.
All right, yeah, they picked the things that you pick.
They might grab an Orianna.
Yeah, that would be a little surprising.
Or they need to Leo, of course, also making sense for Xiao.
Lulu
Lucian is going to be my, like, what are things that Vasily always plays, guess?
Oh, yeah, because they took Caitlyn away from him.
Yeah.
I mean, man. He can't play anything at that point.
First time not at Caitlyn this time around.
Yeah, he'd probably go Lucian. That's his fallback. Or Ezreal. You know, he plays a little bit of Ezreal.
There's a bit of it there. Pekinwolf actually is being left to pick last.
That makes the most sense. We are fools.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I was talking about shields and stuff. Damage reduction.
Has a spell shield and the barrier shield.
Wasn't thinking about the move speed that's going to allow them with Shyvana. It is the typical combo. It'll also allow them to at least match the acceleration gate move speed that Chris is most likely going to be giving them on Jace. So that is the strong champion select pick for LMQ.
I also got to point out the fact that Alistair did come through here right now picked up. Now, guessing pretty heavily that is support Alistair, though. If you look at like Bjergsen's stream, AP mid cow is also cool. Unfortunately, I don't know completely for certain who's definitely picking that one up, but last time we saw Alistair in the LCS, it was against Leona as a counter pick. This one, he knows he's fighting Thresh.
It's against Thresh.
Still happy to play it.
You basically, it's kind of strange. Way back like 2 or 3 years ago, Bo and Alistair had like a 3-second stun on his Pulverize.
Oh gosh.
He was the guy who would just pick and he would just dominate the early game. He'd be like, let's hope it doesn't get late game because then, you know, he doesn't do damage or something. Casting will be very interesting. But now, he's the type of laner who is pretty much only defensive
Yeah.
If people try to gank you, he just headbutts them away. And they try to come back, he'll pulverize them and keep walking away. And late game is when Alistair really comes into his own because of his zoning potential in team fights and the now reduced CC duration of pulverize. But it's like a really, really good skill. In lane, though, it doesn't allow for too much aggression. So now when you see the Jace, the Kassadin, and the Alistair, it really becomes apparent that VVV is trying to survive this early game.
Yeah, they're trying to survive and play pretty long range and opportunistic, it looks like. Jace and Kate hit from far away. When you finally do have the chance to go in, Kha'Zix and Kassadin can jump in there. And yeah, it feels like Alistair's a defensive option here. LMQ, very little engaged tools. And you can just push people back if like Shyvana goes in or Elise goes in.
VVV's team play is going to be very defensive early, and then their late game team composition is actually very scary.
Yeah.
Playing a late game team against LMQ, though, isn't necessarily that well advised.
It's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Shyvana who wins most of her lane matchups. I know Jace. I'm like trying to think about Jace versus Shyvana. And I know like Doran's shield would be super like helpful there to take a lot less poke, but like I feel like she's tanky enough to just kind of weather the storm and just regen through it and build tanky anyway and just kind of dive in there. I feel like Jace has a really hard time people get into melee range.
They do.
That he can like I can poke at you, but then you get through it. I got the knockback and that's it.
Yeah.
His actual damage output with his normal build's like very caster heavy, pretty low sustained damage against tanks.
What I want to see.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's going to happen one day in League of Legends, is an Infinity Edge Jace.
Knew it.
You knew it.
Yeah.
Because I talk about this all the time when you're off camera. I'm just like, did you know that his hypercharge is W? Because when you max it, it goes up to 130% damage on like 3 really quick auto attacks. It works with the Infinity Edge crit.
It multiplies the crit.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you do like 3 Bloodthirsters, a Last Whisper, and an Infinity Edge, you can kill an 80 carry and a support in 3 hits. You just have to crit one of them, and then the other 2 hits will kill the person.
That's just unfortunate.
Yeah. They'd have to build very squishy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've got to go 6 offensive items on both those guys.
20,000 gold.
But that's
it
okay.
can happen.
But, I mean, you said to go super late game.
Yeah.
It's gonna be in there, I think. And you can, of course, you can buffer the W as well. You can cast it, and it starts going on cooldown.
Oh, yeah.
So you can cast it, walk in, 3 attack, then hit W again and get another 3 out there. So 6 shots, entire team's dead.
Yes. But LMQ doesn't let games get to that point usually.
No, they don't.
They're generally very aggressive. Like they'll probably try and win this game in 25 to 30 minutes. If it goes longer than that and the gold is still close, LMQ is going to have to start worrying a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though their team play is fairly solid in the late game, they're just so damn aggressive early.
They are.
That they end up really ending games fairly quickly.
Yeah, and they have a jungle Elise in there to set things off. They've got very weak early lanes and things like Kassadin, for example, and Alistair is going to be stuck defensive. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for LMQ to run around, make the plays, do things. And it's always fun to watch. The teams that are aggressive, they're not always going, oh, we're going to get kills, but it's like, well, we'll steal your blue buff. We'll zone you away from Dragon. You can get a gold dude without champion kills. We might see that from LMQ because there's defensive champions who will probably get away.
And we do have to note this. I mean, I know you guys talked about it a fair bit when they were playing Team 8. But even though LMQ has seemed nearly indestructible in the Coke Zero Challenger Series, outside of it, they've actually been fairly vulnerable.
Yeah.
They lost numerous games in the NACL League.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
I think it was 4.
Yeah.
Actually.
I know Curse
A couple
Academy.
of them to Team 8, obviously. One to Curse Academy. Generally, I feel like they play a little more recklessly in those games. Like they are generally practice-type games for them. But I still think it does show a larger sense of vulnerability. So much hype is around this LMQ team about, you know, they were a pro team in China. Therefore, they're a shoe-in for the LCS. They're just going to destroy everyone in the Challenger Series. And so far, it's mostly been true.
Sure.
But there is definite vulnerability there.
Yeah, I mean, if you
They're
want to...
still really young and experienced team.
Absolutely. I mean, they're still growing, and they're, of course, amazing players. But if you want to even continue sort of the regional argument, I mean, you can look at IM Katowice, where WE didn't even make it out of their first-round group. Now, to be fair, they weren't, like, the number 1 team in China.
Basing it on one game.
Yeah, but, well, I mean, they also dropped to, and eventually, Fnatic down in the lower bracket as well.
True.
But these are still, you know, these are teams that definitely have a lot to work out for them. Of course, we haven't seen OMG in a while. They've only dropped 1 game so far in the LPL. There's
that
a
was
lot
last night, actually.
Yeah. To IG. There's a lot of amazing Chinese teams out there, to be fair. LMQ are definitely among them. We'll see how these guys do here. The North American Challenger Series semifinals versus VVV, Minions of Spawned.
I'm looking forward to next patch.
Yeah.
When they can't place wards at 1 minute 30 seconds.
I am too.
Yeah. It was either It's an interesting debate, and pros have went on either side of it, being like, what do you do to get more level 1? Some pros and analysts say that making the wards placeable at 1 minute would give you more invades, because then people could go in right off the spawn, place wards on the enemy like red and blue buff, and then get out of there for scouting purposes, and like that would facilitate invades. And then others said, no, the reason people aren't invading is because they get warded, so therefore if you wait until 2 minutes, you get all this blind action. Yeah, because we went with the later approach for when the 4.4 patch eventually hits, there's going to be a lot of dangerous invades coming in. Or supports will start having to sacrifice this Doran's item and go gold generation item, one
Ward.
pot, and a ward.
Yep.
Which is a very real possibility, but people are just so used to the laning power, it's going to be a slow adjustment.
Of course. Yeah, we'll see where it moves out to. We've seen certain junglers are able to start with a early ward as well. Champions like Elise actually are able to do that, yeah.
Who's heavily nerfed.
Yeah.
4.4 patch. But we're on 4.3 today.
So we're okay. Next week, 4.4. Gonti and Tails in the bottom lane
They
get snuggled.
took a bunch of damage.
Yeah, they did.
Early on from Basilian Mord. That, I mean, it's kind of what we expect with the Alistar lane. Caitlyn can only do so much on her own.
Yeah.
When Alistar is just very outclassed early by Thresh.
Yeah, the push advantage definitely goes to Sivir. You start Ricochet, you'll do 1.5 extra total attack damage to every minion in the field. And you just push faster than a Caitlyn Q. We're not going to find this, but the push still coming through. 14, now 15 minions. Looks like 4 CS dropped by LMQ. It's okay, though. They're doing all right there. Pushing again into the turret. This poor Caitlyn trying to keep herself alive, but has already chugged a potion. So Nidalee versus Kassadin in the mid lane. Peek and Wolf already out of potions. Chug 2, open Doran's ring. Still having a very rough time in this lane.
Yeah, it's going to continue to be that. Nidalee is actually a very clever pick against Kassadin. Even though it wasn't, I don't think they're trying to be clever with it, it just worked out that way. But Kassadin has typically been weak against actual AD carries in the mid lane because people with, you know, good repetitive ranged auto attacks really harass her out since he's more of an anti-mage.
Yeah.
But Nidalee kind of fits that AD carry build in the lane since all he's doing is throwing auto attacks, enhancing his attack speed with E, and harassing that way. There's no way Kassadin has any type of friendly time in that mid lane.
So Kassadin's already gone for the early recall, does have Summoner Teleport, picks up a flask and a bunch of consumables, gets back to the lane without missing too much. So we'll see Teleport again at around 9.5 minutes, which probably is not even that big of a deal.
No. I'm really wondering if we're going to be seeing counter jungling early from No Name, though. You can already see from the formation of all these lanes on VVV how passive all of them are. The entire LMQ team is pushed up to enemy turrets. And that pressure generally takes its toll. It gives No Name so much freedom about where he goes. Generally, when all your lanes are pushed up like this, the only thing left to do is either tower dive or go find the enemy jungler. Because Elise isn't necessarily someone who wants to sit in the jungle and power farm.
Yeah, true. Wants to capitalize on the early game lead. There is a ward here in this brush next to Vasily, so no easy lane sneak for the LMQ jungler. Snuggle, though, is going to look top lane and is not spotted by any wards. Ackerman does have flash, but is otherwise going to be gankable. And oh, the flash in from Ackerman just in time does not allow the knockback to come through. Chris almost made that one happen.
Nice moves by Chris. The lane was resetting itself because Ackerman had been pushed up so much. But then Jace, what's really nice about him being ranged is the lane getting frozen isn't bad for him. Watch out though, stun.
Stun's gonna land a little bit of damage into Peek and Wolf. Actually, wow, low health bar flashes the wall, and it's gonna be the repel from Elise. No Name into the bucket four. The kill traded, but will get Snuggle to make the damage happen. Misses the W. Auto attack comes in, does pick up the kill, trading those back and forth. Both junglers grab some gold.
Yeah, and actually Snuggle comes out on top of that one because he's the one still alive, so he can continue to farm. Can he get him in the turret?
Yes, he does, but there's still minions there, so no damage really coming into more. Just going to walk back out of that one.
It's like the worst feeling. Like, I'm going to headbutt him backwards. And he's going to walk away.
I mean, he did.
He did.
It looked cool. It wasn't on camera, but, I mean, it was definitely cool.
That's just because LMQ is pushing the lane so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Consistently having, I mean, look at this. VVV's not even getting a chance of the wave until it's at their turret. But to talk about that fight in the mid lane a little bit, it was a nice feint there by Pecking Wolf to pull right back into Kha'Zix, and Kha'Zix is the one who wants to fight early on in the game. He got to fight, he got to kill. Eesh.
Wow, speaking of fighting, I mean, Tails has really taken a lot of these boomerangs to the face. It's a really good job by Vasily to get this damage in. Gotta say, a lot done by Thresh to make that happen. And now, speaking of fighting, No Name also grabbing early boots of mobility. 4.3, they are cheaper, but they don't move in combat as fast.
Very cheap, good to rush. normally you would see the rush on someone like a Lee Sin, or if the day happens, a Rammus, who would love to buy them really early on in the game. But with this being the case, what this probably tells us about No Name's playstyle is that he is looking to make long runs into the enemy jungler.
Oh my gosh, almost a bait by Xiaowei. Damage coming through, not good for Pekin Wolf. Xiaowei stayed around to keep Cassidy in it. Kill picked up in the mid lane.
He's got 2 levels on.
Yeah.
That's a level 7 Nidalee versus a level 5 Cassidy. It's because when the kill trade happened, Nidalee was alive, Cassidy wasn't.
Yeah.
And he'd already went back multiple times because of all the harass in lane. So he was already behind before that kill death trade happened. Yeesh. That's trouble.
And Pekin Wolf's going to be even farther behind. His normal abilities opened up now with Ruby Crystal, so no early tier. Is going to go towards Roa, but not going to have that same kind of mana stack. So looking a little bit more bleak for Pekin Wolf's mid to late game here. Xiaowei going to help pick this one up.
Especially with the diminished base damages. There's a lot of iterations of casting that have been going on. So there's the one that was banned all the time, which we don't really need to talk about. There's one we're playing on right now, which is quite important on the 4.3 patch. It's much less damage on his Q, much less damage on his E. He lost 60 base damage overall, and it means he needs kind of an extra item to become what he used to be. When he can't even start with a tier, that just means it's going to be 35 minutes, 40 minutes before he starts really being casted.
And here comes Get Snuggled to the top lane again. The knockback does come through. Probably this time no flash, but Dragon Form is there for Ackerman. First ult charge used. More slows down. Ackerman not able to ult or anything. Another slow. He's got one more. Ooh. Oh, not enough damage comes through, though.
The move speed kicked in just at the right time. I thought the 3 charges of the ultimate from Get Snuggled and the slow that happens from Kha'Zix's, what's his passive called?
Taste Their Fear.
Taste Their Fear.
No, Unseen Threat. Taste Their Fear is
Threat.
the Q.
I believe both of those. But
good.
Yeah.
They just sound like Kha'Zix
Unseen
names.
Threat makes more sense because he gets the threat when he is actually unseen. It even allows him to check certain brushes for wards if he's lucky enough.
That's true.
Yeah.
You walk out of the lane, if the passive doesn't show up, it's like,
you're
on a ward right now.
Yep.
There you go.
But
you're rewarded with information.
He couldn't kill him that time. Another set of action coming in the mid lane. Pekin Wolf might get baited again.
Gets stunned by No Name. Here comes Chris, but not in time. Ouch. Rough mid lane right now for VVV. Pekin Wolf had such an amazing quarterfinal series, but LMQ picking on him.
Yeah, especially since that was a top lane roam. Like, that was meant to be helping him out. It ends up just hurting him more. Now it also means that Chris is set behind in the top lane because there's free farm from Shyvana, and because he has to run back up and there's a dead Kassadin. Dragon for LMQ.
And it's going to be going down pretty conveniently now. 3-1 in kills and a 3-ish thousand gold lead with the Dragon picked up as well. Ackerman capitalizing the top lane roam with a level lead over his opponent. Chris finally showing up now. But Ackerman could just keep taking farm and get a pretty conveniently timed recall if he wants it.
Yeah, Ackerman's going to be doing this thing now. Where he farms in between the mini waves. I don't feel like Jace is the easiest guy to do that against, though. Like, I think Jace is going to have enough sustained damage to get him out of there.
Yeah.
But not without the threat of Kassadin. Pekin Wolf is getting destroyed by Xiaowei's Nidalee.
Oh my gosh, he takes another Javelin as well. Juked actually back into it. He's actually 1 Q away from dying if he doesn't juke this away properly. Jumps away, Xiao not going to assassinate.
Yeah, but with the blue buff on him, the Nidalee heals, even though he's just put 1 point in them. We heal him up nice and quick.
Damage back on Vasily, gets snuggled waiting around, but is on top of a ward right now.
Yep.
So LMQ won't fall for this one. The CC of Alistar not really coming into much effect, though. Did open gold per 10, so he will get some extra money in here, but honestly...
It's such a small amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the least efficient of the gold generation items. He's really just using that because he wants to get to the Talisman of Ascension soon. But this was the fear with VVV's team composition. None of their lanes are very strong against what LMQ is offering. None of them are really getting out of this phase unharmed, except probably Chris. I'd say Chris's Jace is the one who's succeeding.
He's got more CS, lost most of his turret health, but...
But everyone else is getting pushed in a little bit too hard. Losing 2 out of 3 lanes like this against a team as aggressive as LMQ is going to start harming them even more than it has already.
So the push continues in the bottom lane. LMQ going to get their 2nd turret now of the game. Mid lane did die up back a little while ago. Dragon off the map, but we'll see what else these guys go for now. Blue buff going to be spawning in the next minute or so on this right-hand side of the map. We'll see if they control that. They go for the jungle pressure or what their next move is.
Dragon, even though the timer's not on the screen, like, it's going to be fairly soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
A
probably
little bit more than 2 minutes, but maybe 3.
2.5 minutes away or so. That'll be nearly a free take for LMQ, I think. especially if they continue to kill Cast, and he doesn't even have his Catalyst. We're 12 minutes in. He had to go for a Doran's Ring as well. Now he can't even get experience for the minion wave because No Name walked up to him. That is just a painful life.
Yeah, jungler equal level to the mid laner. Not the happiest place to be right there. Junglers on both sides, actually. Both of them level 8 right now. Kind of forced back farther and farther. Still the push very easy for Xiao, who's got a 2-level lead. He is 10. Vasily now, of course, 7 on Sivir does have on the hunt. And you've got a Thresh and Elise and Nidalee flanking. LMQ going for the pinch.
It's a lot of people. Not too many for VVV.
The 2-man play, great shot by Moore. The box comes down, hits onto Gonti. Nowhere for Alistair to go. Jukes a Javelin. I mean, he's going to go down.
Yeah, and up on the top lane, they just keep chasing.
Wow, another Flay is going to land. Ignite goes down, and they just back up, say thank you. Moore picks that one up. 1-0-1 on Thresh, now 5-1 in the game.
They went for the double kill right there. They split off perfectly, 2 for each person. And they barely were able to chase down Tails. And the reason they did that so safely is they knew Pecking Wolf was trapped in the mid lane, and they did not fear Get Snuggled because they had just came through his jungle. It was a very clear 4v2 and calculated aggression that time from LMQ. That's the difference, I feel like, when they play well versus when they are messing around, is the calculatedness of their aggression. They seem to just test the limits in their other games.
Yeah, and they put exactly what they needed to do right there. Pekin's going to take even more damage there. Honestly, not a happy place to be when you get hooked by a Thresh. Top lane still holding pretty equal, but unfortunately, Chris hasn't turned a decent landing phase into anything just yet, and it might be over before he gets to help here. Yeah. Still rotation from LMQ, still the aggressive team. Still pushing more down.
Yeah, I mean, he's just sitting on that Brutalizer. Maybe he can get some of the turret,
Ooh,
but...
dodges the Cocoon, puts in for No Name. There's the Repel. Which way will he go? Down over towards the Wolves. Does have the flash, uses it, but it's not going to matter. Snuggle picks up a kill. Now here's the Headbutt Pulverize on a Xiao, who has both summoners. They jumped into some brush. Xiao safe.
Yeah, so they get one back. They stop No Name's jungle invades for the meanwhile. But that does not stop the pressure they have across the map.
No. You see the jungler forced to run away.
He's getting pretty farmed.
123, Athenes is done.
Yeah.
50 minions over his lane opponent. Not the ideal situation.
Look how many sweepers they already have.
Wow.
They're 14 minutes in and they've switched over to triple sweeper.
You know, I've been trying to actually...
They're getting control of that jungle.
Yeah, absolutely in control. I've been trying to think about the impetus for when teams switch. And I used to keep thinking it was game timer. I feel like it's when outer turrets die. I'll bet you it's when outer turrets die, you're probably supposed to switch your trinkets, because that's when you start playing into the jungle.
One thing I thought about the other day as well, speaking of trinkets, as Chris fights Ackerman, we can let him fight.
He's okay.
We're going to let these guys fight too, just more
blue buff taken away by a No Name, gets snuggled, goes down for taking a little bit too long of a look there. Oh, there is a jungle invade, 14-minute blue buff. That's actually when it respawned.
Yes.
And
good timer keeping by LMQ. They are playing right on top of the game right now. 5,000 gold lead, 2 outer turrets, soon to be more. Obviously, no threat in the top lane from Ackerman because they're just going to continue pushing. But trinkets.
Yeah.
I placed a trinket ward when I was level 8. And I was like, I should have waited until I was level 9.
Yeah.
Because then it upgrades.
A minute longer.
It would have lasted a minute longer. And as long as you're going to get that level within the minute, it's even better.
Yeah. Unless you needed the vision right then.
Unless you absolutely needed the vision, which sometimes if you're making preemptive wards, just try and sync it with your level 9.
You know, speaking of your talk about wards, actually, whenever I have spare money for a ward, I buy a pink ward instead. Because I'm not going to buy wards much anyway, because I'm a selfish player.
Yeah.
But
if you place it in the right spot.
Yeah, you put a pink ward down. If it's up for like 8 minutes, it's like, help my team.
It will last forever.
Yes.
Like how long is that pink ward in the river going to last?
A while.
I'm going to say the rest of the game.
All right, we'll see. See what they can do with this one. Peek and Woof. I mean, thing is, the follow-up question, though, is what's that ward even going to see? If VVV's stuck in the base the whole time, could be a waste of 100 gold.
I know. It's going to see that they're not there.
It's like, I could put a pink ward in my fountain, and it will last all game. But is it really worth 100 gold? I think so.
Hello.
Oh, the mid-jump play, and now the Fox is down for Gonti. Good timed ultimate, blocks the slow. It's not going to be enough. Gets away just fine. Still the 1 for 0.
Yeah, nice Thresh plays by Moore. It is an interesting thought exercise to say, like, what is the value of a ward? Like, how many people does it have to see in order to be valuable? Right?
Or routes that you would normally take.
Yeah. Like, what route does this have to catch someone taking in order for it to pay for itself? Because oftentimes pink wards will only see one person before they're killed, but sometimes it's still worth it because it scouted that area for 10 minutes for you.
Yeah.
And then when they came over, it's like, okay, they were there. It's like, do you intentionally ward high traffic areas with your pink ward, or do you only ward low traffic areas in the chance that someone checks that, because then you'll see it.
It's an interesting thing to think about. We'll see what happens with this one, though. Chris forced to run away. The flash in from Ackerman. Not going to do enough, but yeah, it's a fun thing to think about with your wards. I would posit high traffic areas for green wards, low traffic for pink wards, and you can then just process of elimination say, well, they can only come from river.
Yeah. And then there's a couple high traffic, low visibility areas.
Yep.
That's probably a strange word for it, but it's the pink wards that you'll see like near the red buff.
Yeah.
The river ones in those little bushes that are just kind of in the middle of nowhere that people for some reason don't like walking through because they have years of League of Legends training that tells them not to check brushes. So it's like they don't see the pink wards.
Even though walking by one is like just the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the places you place pink wards. But yeah, high traffic areas for the green ones, and the surprise attacks for the pinks.
Oh, Pekin will force to run away. I bet you Nidalee players are really good at catching those wards because they automatically go through brush just to run faster.
Yeah.
Ward killing by champion.
VVV really wants to try and find a fight, but they're so far behind, I think if they took the fight, they'd lose anyway. And if they take any more spears, they'd have to run back immediately. It's an 8,000 gold lead for LMQ here. And they're looking to close real early.
Hooks a minion, not too much there. Vasily level 10 does have the ulti available, though. If they finally engage, they can just go for it hardcore. Nidalee's still mid, though. VVV could force a 5v4. The slow comes in from Pekin Wolf.
Finishing Rod of Ages actually isn't that terrible. You know, he completely skipped over his tier. He just completely skipped it. It's a lost cause. He realized he's never going to get any more. So he's trying to get as much immediate power as possible. Once he has that Rod of Ages for 10 minutes, it'll be his. Probably the only moment in the game where he has a chance to be relevant.
Still the 4v4 in the top lane. The wave grid is so good from LMQ. Alistair does have some pretty decent sustain. I do want to know actually what he's been maxing here because I've seen pretty much all of them as potential maxes.
For Alistair?
For Alistair.
Yeah.
You can go
pick
heal.
And choose.
Yeah. I feel like Pulverize is the best team fight spell. Getting more knockups on multiple people is a huge deal.
Depends how much they were losing in the lane, though, how much you'd want to spec and heal.
Yep.
Even though the mana cost does increase quite aggressively. Right now, though, they have to worry about this turret.
It might go down this wave. Yeah, VVV forced to back away 6-0 now in turret, 7-2 in kills. And I believe all the dragons as well. LMQ still well in control here. Not even 20 minutes in yet. They've got all 6 tier 1 and tier 2 turrets.
Wow.
Yeah.
6 turrets, 7 kills, 11,000 gold.
They've killed more global objectives than champions.
Yes, they have. Do you count blue and red buff as a global objective?
No, I count turrets and dragons,
it's a local objective.
I think so.
It's still an objective. I'd say it's a local objective.
Yeah, it's fair. Pretty much
dragons,
by definition.
Dragons are globals.
Yeah, if it has a global presence. There are some local presences too, like Dragon has local XP and turrets have local gold, but...
Is killing a Karthus a global objective because you stop his ultimate?
What are you talking about? You enable his ultimate. He now has infinite mana to cast it.
Now he's going to get you every time.
TSM, I think, once lost a game by killing a Karthus against CLG EU.
Many teams have lost a game by killing Karthus at the wrong time as well. You're like, he's out of mana, but it's a kill. You're like, no.
The call, don't focus Karthus, is rare to hear, but very important.
All right, yeah, this is LMQ and really massive control. This is exactly what VVV didn't want to happen.
Yes.
LMQ, solid team comp. The Nidalee pick really working out well against Kassadin, but then the rest of it working out quite well. I'd say the Jace was still good by Chris. He is just too far behind.
Yeah, his team unfortunately not really there for him in this one. 2-1-0 for Get Snuggled, though. I gotta say he's, as far as KDA is concerned, doing pretty well. He's the only bright spot for his team, making things happen. This, less bright. There's a hook. And Bug's gonna get zapped, maybe. Ew. Yep, he's gonna go down. The Ignite making that one go. Flash. Burn for nothing for Get Snuggled. He's gonna drop in now. Red buff controlled by LMQ. Stolen away by Javelin. So apparently want to give it to Nidalee here. And now the Baron gets started. Of course, the jungler's dead for VVV, so why not?
I can't blame Get Snuggled for that death.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, wow, he should not have checked that brush. But they have no vision in the area. They are so far behind. And the team can't really go with him because they're all desperately trying to keep up and farm. He had to do that. It was kind of his responsibility. It was just smart of LMQ to be in that spot because they knew that they had to send one person by themselves on a rogue mission. They finished off Get Snuggled.
Goes down. Blue buff now spawning as well for LMQ. Of course, Baron did get grabbed. At this point, VVV just doing what they can to somehow try to stall. Like, I remember thinking during Champ Cycle, like, they've got decent wave clear. They've got Jace with the gates and everything. Caitlyn's there as well. Like, those are pretty good tools for getting rid of minions and trying to keep your inhibs alive. But LMQ do have a pretty decent tank now. Baron buff plus Sunfire and Ninja Tabby on Shyvana is enough to die the turret, probably.
And if this game would have went late, LMQ actually has a pretty low damage team.
Yeah.
Especially since No Name did not do the magic penetration build. He went pretty much tank with boots of mobility. So Elise is a stun bot with still some decent burst because he's got so much base level and base damage right now.
Yeah.
But the magic pen means less damage. You know, Ackerman, Bilgewater, but not Blade of the King. But it won't matter if it looks like that.
Wow.
That was Spear too.
Tails died. And the Javelin made it happen. Push forward, now going in for LMQ. They've got complete control over the inhibitor. Shield was used from Lockadabar and Solari by No Name, and that's going to be the mid inhibitor going down. 22.5 minutes in. Now, will they keep going? 15 seconds till Caitlyn respawns. Big Javelin and Peek and Wolf.
Yeah, they would be a low damage team if they weren't 15,000 gold ahead with Baron buff. Now they're going in hard.
They got levels, they got everything. Gonti goes down. Ulti, of course, already on cooldown. 2 for 0 so far. Still inside the base, gets snuggled in a bad spot. LMQ looking to snuggle with him. They are going to take him down. Ackerman gets kill credit. Going to Peek and Wolf. Peek and Wolf also dropping away. Kills everywhere. Chris goes in the scoreboard, picks up one on a Sivir, but still, LMQ completely in control. 4 versus 1 now inside the base. This is going to be their game.
23 minutes. Fastest game today, if we count LCS.
Yeah.
But damn, nice play there by LMQ. They took that loss to Team A a little bit seriously, I feel like.
Yeah, that game, they came out gunning.
That was in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Team A.
Yeah, week or so ago. But honestly, very, very good play with these guys. I liked kind of how dedicated they were to going early game. Like, they kind of had that plan the whole time through. Boots mobility, Elise, that whole thing.
Straight for the jugular.
And it's like, yeah, you went Kassadin. Fine, we'll camp your lane. You are level 5 by the time you've died twice. Like, not going to get to a late game Kassadin situation.
Shove the other lanes as well.
Kept it going.
Shove the other lanes as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely kept it going. Just Xiao didn't have to do too much other than completely shut him down. Like, no one on the team had to make any spectacular plays that game because everyone was doing their small part.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder, obviously we have more games to go.
Of course.
And especially based on their best of 3 with Team 8, they do have their great games and their not so great games. And with that type of aggression, sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Sure.
And then they struggle more. But really just basing it off of the games they played against Team 8 versus the games they have now, I kind of wonder how good Team 8 was, right? Like, they were really good team. It's unfortunate they missed out on the first series and then lost early in the second, and they're out of it now.
Yeah.
I hope the majority of those players continue to go at it. I'm way off topic now at this point, but it's really important because that was such a one-sided game for LMQ, and there's a chance they just do that twice in a row to VVV, even though this is the semifinals, and their quarterfinal opponent may have actually been better.
Well, we'll see what they can do with this one, honestly. And you think about VVV, and I want to kind of call back to what you said a second ago about they didn't make any spectacular plays. They just all kind of played consistently.
Yeah.
I feel like the teams that are really, really good, and I think this happens with TSM and Cloud9 as well in the NA CS, is that they're so smart that they're like, this is a super high percentage play. All I have to do is like hit a flay and a javelin, and it's a kill. It's like I don't have to like flash, tumble, like dodge an Elise cocoon, and then hit you into a wall, which is fun when you're double lift, but like, just like, oh, yeah, well, this will work. I'll just land the hook. And then you're like, oh, well, I guess we won lane now.
It's like high reward plays that don't carry any penalty if they don't work.
Yeah.
Right? And LMQ, if they can perfect that, they're going to have a really good shot at making it into the LCS. It's always interesting when you have teams that are capable of such crazy aggression. Because when they hone it in just right, it gets so dangerous. Because, like, you see them fail so many times doing it.
Yeah.
But I really love that style of play because as long as you're trying to make plays and always putting the other team on their back foot, when you get into the serious game, it's this really delicate balance of doing the things that will work, but then having the memory of all the times it went wrong. So like you're able to pick out like the really small details of like, okay, what makes a disaster and what makes this a great play. And the more you play like that and actually lose games and fail and like stumble, the better you're going to be when you really have to do it in a high pressure situation. And
they made it happen here. And kind of by contrast, NIP over in the EU Challenger Series made it into the finals. And they have a complete opposite game plan where they just play objectives.
Exactly.
And they take it really slowly. That'd be fun if I ever got to see these two teams play. But game one's out of match history. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to see game 2 between VVV and LMQ. So stay with us.